But do you think that meditation just slowly evolves into self-inquiry, like after a certain point? It cannot.
Because the ego will not voluntarily eliminate itself. Meditation is when you're turning your attention onto an object. Okay? And an object is anything that is known with your mind, your body, and your senses. Okay, so any thoughts, any memories, any ideas, any feelings, emotions, sensations in your body, any sights, smells, tastes, and touch with your five senses. Those are all known as objects. And the ego, how the ego works, how you remain the sense of me, is that your ego just hops from object to object. It just goes mind, car, tree, feeling, and it just goes boom, 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 boom. So meditation is still turning your attention away from yourself onto an object. Okay? And again, it's not denied or saying that meditation is negative in any way. That is not the truth. It is a very helpful tool. Because to allow yourself to turn inward in self-inquiry, the best mind and body to do that with is a quiet and silent mind and body. Okay? But where self-inquiry is totally different is that it's asking you to turn your attention on to something that is not an object. This is where it gets, a little hard or maybe confusing what that means at first, and that's all okay. But that's what I do here. When people want to say, I'm stuck, I have been meditating for a while, and it's, there's some good times, and then it fades away, and then there's good times, and I have good experiences, and they all seem to be temporary still. And yes, because you're still using the ego, which fluctuates, which comes and goes, which shape shifts. That tool of ego is impermanence itself, is the definition of temporary. It's temporarily this, and then it's temporarily that, and then it comes over here temporary. So what makes self-inquiry different is that this, yourself, your being, that which exists as you, is permanent. So by turning your attention to it, you start to understand the permanence of what you've always been. Because you've always been you, and when you reflect back over your life, you know that there's been something here that has never ever changed. You, when you refer to you, even yourself, like me or I have been here, yes, forever. It's just recognizing and being honest with yourself that is the truth, that you know that inherently. And that getting back to here, you could say, takes a different vehicle to get there. It's not a meditation vehicle. It's leaving this out here alone and turning within and starting to investigate what self is.
Wait, so you don't think that, but do you think that meditation just slowly evolves into self-inquiry? Like after a certain point? You cannot.
Because the ego will not voluntarily eliminate itself without knowing how to do it. So it's a really good question. It's an interesting question because it is the ego that turns within. But until it's pointed out to you what the true answer is, the ego will always stay out here because it's all it knows and it's what keeps it in existence. So it will never drum this up on its own. This being the remembrance of yourself or the vehicle, the practice of self-enquiry to get back to that. It will never imagine that to be the solution. It's only when somebody points it out to you that you're like, oh, that is a possibility. I understand that to be a possibility. Okay, let me go check it out.
But when you're meditating and you can focus the ego onto the breath, aren't you in presence of the self?
You are permanently experiencing yourself. Your awareness is self. Your consciousness is self. That never has gone away because it's an eternal experience. It is what exists and has existed for eternity. So you might not realize it all the time, but you are permanently, constantly experiencing self. It's just we veil self, if this is self, we veil self with the ego. It's unintentional. We don't know we did it. We are conditioned by society to do it. So we can't beat ourselves up and self-loathe that we have an ego. It's just how it is. And now you know there's a possibility to get rid of this so that you can experience nothing but self. And that's where happiness, permanent, ever-present happiness, is experienced.
So you need to have like this like points of self-inquiry that at first you can like logically understand but you don't feel, and then over time you just like begin to like embody it.
When ego turns itself around and abides in its source of itself, which is yourself, because remember, everything rises out of self, right? The whole big notion that everything arises out of no-thing, right? That's kind of like the big picture of all of this. This is what the quantum physicists have discovered. This is what the sages have known for thousands of years. So what that means is that ego has arisen out of self as well. So when it turns around and comes back to itself, it's only returning back to the source of itself, which is yourself. And doing that, as it's turning around by asking it questions, and we can go over that here in a moment, but as it's turning itself around and coming home to itself, you're following that turning with your attention. Okay? Because we only acknowledge or experience what our attention is on. So you could say the ego is it's a focusing of attention on all of these objects out here in this world. And self-realization is when you get that attention to turn back and realize that it's itself it's after.
So you're like facilitating the ego to return to itself, and then you're just watching it do that.
Perfect.
But wouldn't like, for example, mindfulness meditation be an example of having awareness not on the ego and on consciousness?
Who is aware of the mindfulness? What is aware that you're focusing on your mind to manipulate your mind?
Oh, the ego?
Only awareness. You're aware that you're manipulating your mind. Your mind is an object, and you're trying to calm that object in some way.
Yeah.
Manipulate your mind in some way to benefit your experience. So you awareness, are aware of your mind games.
Oh, okay. And then the difference between self-inquiry is like with meditation is like a separation, or like you're like being able to like observe it like separately almost, even though it's the same. But like with self-inquiry, you're somehow like bringing it back.
Yes.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah, so if this is self and your mind's out here, you turn your attention onto your mind, and self-inquiry is none other than turning that attention back onto its source of self. So you're doing, in a way, the same thing as mindfulness. It's just you're not attending to an object. This is a non-objective experience, this is what makes it so profound and so completely different.
Oh, I see.
So, and you can view this in different ways, because once you start to turn within, the clarity of this will be experienced. So you'll experience it, and therefore clarity comes like, oh, I see what he's talking about. And so this could be a turning, this could be a just relaxing back in. It's how you experience it and want to put words around it, but self-realization is literally when attention comes back and rests in its source of awareness. And here, once you're here, you'll realize that to know this, for awareness to know itself, it doesn't need anything other than itself to know itself. It doesn't have to bust out into the objective world, grab something out here called whatever, mind or another object of any sort, and bring it back to itself to know itself. It just knows itself by being itself.
Oh, interesting.